Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic: loss of the private conversation. It really isn't a secret that nothing is sacred anymore. Nothing is private any longer. Nothing is intimate without fancy. And so we have given up our privacy in exchange for what we think are free things, good things, service things, like Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp and Wuzzy-Zap and Ding Dong Dilly. And in that exchange, advertisers learn all about us, while we only get a way to talk to our friends and openly share information. Now, all of that is good, with consent, but how many of us have stopped to think about what we really lose in the exchange of privacy for free access? I grew up in the Midwest, where your word was your contract. You shook hands on an idea, and that act made it so. And so everything flowed, everything happened. Moving to the East Coast, Washington, D.C., New York City, I quickly learned that people tend to tell you what they think you want to hear, just to send you away without any sort of promise or compromise or commitment or condemnation. And I learned the big city is one big black hole, filled with smiles and shoe shines, where people just try to get along and try to move from one moment to the next without killing each other. And that is a fine system if you buy into it. But that system can also be troublesome when you're trying to get something done. You're trying to get someone to keep their word. And the handshake deal is out, dead and done. Your word doesn't mean anything in the big city, unfortunately, only because nobody's word means anything to anyone in the big city. Actions are fine, but they always tend to get buried in meaningless words. And so too is the fate of the private conversation. What once was spoken in low tones to convey excitement and intimacy and exclusivity is now shouted. All covenants are broken. And that yelling happens all across social media, screamed out the window, blurted out to any stranger on the street. And that's a sad thing. I'm not a big believer in secrets. I think secrets kill relationships. But a private moment, a shared conversation doesn't seem to want to live between only two people any longer. As the writer Nora Ephron infamously suggested, everything is copy. Well, everything is copy means there are no secrets. That means anything goes. That means if anything happens within her line of sight or within the wind in her ear, she would have written about it. No secrets, no cadence given. Just everything. Everything is fair game. For her. And that fair game, everything is copy, meant people like Nora Ephron could never really be trusted or be your friend, because they would betray a confidence in a second if it meant they could squeeze a good story out of you that they could publish for money. And as a longtime writer, I don't happen to believe that anything and everything that happens to you is fair game for writing about in a plot or a dramatic twist. But many authors believe every wiggle and scooch needs to be shared. And you see that extrapolated into the non-writing community to the nth degree on Instagram, where every meal is believed to be a mission from God, to be memorialized and sacrificed in public on the internet. And every selfie is a margin call to be shared and squandered and never kept quiet. And there are some apps that pretend to defend your privacy. iMessage, WhatsApp, Telegram, and while those are encrypted forms of communication, that doesn't mean the person on the receiving end of your encrypted message isn't going to screenshot what you said and then post it on public media. If it bleeds, it reads. And so you have no guarantee that anything you say will remain within the realm of your own domain. And that means fewer realities get shared. We don't want to tell everything we know. We only want to tell enough not to get us in trouble. Gone forever are the tender days of, hey, keep this between us, okay? Because nothing is going to be kept between us ever, anymore, any longer. Conversation without judgment has gone the way of the secret told in revenge. Where once a friendly smile could carry the moment, now only a glare of defiance. And retribution in the betrayal can marry the moment. Conversation without fear is a luxury we no longer enjoy. Everything you utter, every way you move, can be turned into an audio file or a video, all instantly appearing online, on YouTube or Vimeo or on SoundCloud or even the evening news. And my human meme friend, whatever happened to privacy by default? Not loss of privacy by proxy or absolute delusion. The safe parts of our world have now become dangerous and sharp. Tell the truth only gets you a decade in jail and infamy on Snapchat. And if you happen to make an error in speech or in action or in judgment, there will be someone right there to take advantage of you in order to meme you and to shame you on Reddit with upvotes. There is no safe harbor in the world when Twitter likes are at stake. Here's another example. The other day, 4 a.m, our apartment high-rise, our skyscraper, was inundated with smoke from a nearby construction site. A cement heater went haywire, and that site was set on fire a little bit, and our building was getting all the smoke from the fire. And we were notified by the fire department to evacuate, go down to the lobby. Elevators were not working, so we had to walk down. And some people had to walk more than 50 floors to get to the lobby. So there we all were, probably 300 of us or so, dressed in our pajamas. It was 20 degrees outside. Some residents were smart enough to bring their winter coats. I was not that smart. And we were all still pretty much asleep, standing in a lobby, all a little scared, confused, and looking our absolute worst. And then, of course, there was that guy. That guy who stood on the mailboxes to get a better view. And that guy who was Facebook Live broadcasting all of us, almost naked and afraid in our lobby, broadcasting us with his iPhone. No privacy expected or given. And he was grinning as he scanned us and panned us. And we just stood there beneath him, looking up. All of us unwilling actors in his impromptu action news movie report. And being broadcast like that was disgusting. But most people didn't seem to care, either because they were too tired at 4 a.m. to notice, or because they were wise enough to know that protesting wouldn't make any difference at all. And in fact, protesting as broadcast would have been just what he wanted. Someone to help his betrayal of us go viral. When the fire department finally gave us the all-clear to go back upstairs to our apartments, the elevators were still off and would remain that way for the next hour or so, so we had to walk all the way back up. And during that walk, one could not help but wonder what would be next in the disintegration of the integrated self. Individual thought is dangerous, and you tame it and tempt it by exposing the person to the morass of the madding crowd for tampering and tempering. And in that awful exchange, tyranny begins to rule. As the only secrets allowed are those the state holds against the individual. While everyone else does the fallow groundwork of the state in the repression of the free, independent soul, in the heartless exposure of everything held precious and private. And in that scheme, you don't need a state system of justice or protection or panopticonicism. You don't need it because everyone around you is already judging every thought in your head. Thank you for listening. Be a Human Meme